You know, there's a quiet paradox at the heart of our most elite institutions. We're sort of taught that the path to a great life is paved with perfect grades and these really prestigious degrees. But then we get out into the real world, and we pretty quickly discover there's this silent, unwritten curriculum. And it's one that determines not just our career, but our ability to navigate all the challenges life inevitably throws our way.
So to really get into this, we're going to lean on our main source here, Mark H. McCormack's classic, What They Don't Teach You at Harvard Business School. And let me tell you, this book is way more than a collection of business tips. It's more like a field guide to a completely different kind of intelligence, one you're just not going to find in a lecture hall.
And that really brings us to the big question behind this whole explainer. I mean, we've all known people who were absolute superstars in school, but then struggled to navigate the messy complexities of life and business. So why doesn't a perfect report card guarantee a fulfilling life? What are the crucial skills that are just being left out of the picture?
To answer that, we first have to talk about something called the illusion of the degree. It's this deep, deep belief we have that a formal qualification is the ultimate key to mastering the real world.
Now, McCormack makes a pretty provocative claim here. He wasn't anti-education, not at all. He was just very aware of its limits. He found that some of the most highly educated people he hired were, ironically, the least capable of learning from reality. You know, they struggled to really understand people or to accurately size up a situation.
See, school, for the most part, prepares us for a world of predictable problems with clear answers you can find in a textbook. But life demands something else entirely. It demands that you navigate ambiguity, that you can read the room, that you trust your gut. It requires what McCormack loved to call street smarts.
Okay, so if the formal curriculum is incomplete, what exactly does this unspoken curriculum teach? Well, the first and probably most critical lesson is something we can call applied human psychology.
McCormack defines street smarts not as being cunning or deceitful, but simply as the applied knowledge of people. It's the skill of understanding human nature and using that understanding to achieve your goals. This is applied human psychology in action. Think about it. Whether you're closing a deal, asking for a raise, or leading a team, pretty much every situation is, at its core, a human situation.
So, what does it actually take to develop these so-called street smarts? The main point here is that these skills aren't abstract theories, they're practices. Active listening isn't just hearing words, it's about understanding the intent behind them. Using silence isn't passive, it's a tool that actually encourages the other person to reveal more. These are the real building blocks of real-world intelligence, and you learn them through practice, not by memorizing flashcards.
Now, to truly master experience, you also have to master the art of unlearning. And this brings us to our second lesson. You kind of have to let go of the idea that learning is just about collecting more and more information. You see, true learning follows a process. You start by remembering facts, sure, but then you have to understand them, apply them, analyze them, and eventually synthesize them into a new, coherent worldview. The problem is, school often stops at the first two steps. The real world demands that you complete the entire journey.
And here's the crucial difference. If your knowledge is just a pile of disconnected facts, like clutter in a warehouse, it's pretty much useless. Deep learning is all about integration. It's when you connect new information to what you already know, creating this unified mental model that lets you see the world with so much more clarity.
This brings us to the final and maybe the most profound lesson of the unspoken curriculum, learning to embrace the fact that life is inherently unstable.
We're all taught to seek stability, to create 5-year plans, to plan for certainty. But, well, reality doesn't really operate on a fixed schedule, does it? The ancient Greeks understood this. They knew that if you're surprised by change, it just means you don't yet understand the rules of the game.
So, true wisdom isn't about building walls high enough to keep out the storms of life. It's about cultivating the inner calm to navigate them when they arrive. It's really about accepting that instability isn't some flaw in the system. It is the system. It's the very nature of existence. And from this acceptance, an incredible quality is born: patience. Mark McCormack actually believed that 90% of his success came from having enough patience, and that 90% of his failures came from a lack of it. Patience is the superpower of those who understand you just can't rush the river.
So, where does all this leave us? Look, this isn't an argument against formal education, not at all. It's really a call to supplement it, to recognize its limits, and to commit yourself to a different, more personal path of lifelong learning. When you strip away all the case studies, the formulas, the theories, what is the one subject that underpins everything else? What's the one curriculum that truly matters for a life well lived?
Yeah, the ultimate lesson that Harvard doesn't teach is the art of self-knowledge. To understand your own instincts, to master your own psychology, and to know when to trust your own perceptions. Because in the end, the most valuable education isn't about what you know, it's about who you are becoming.